Welcome back, everybody, to our first episode after a hiatus of What We Watch. I am your host, Garrett Christopherson, along with my co-host,
Natalie Brinkerhoff. Full
um,
full government name.
full government name, Natalie Ray Brinkerhoff. It's been a minute. It's been a minute, everybody. For
It has been
those
a minute.
for those who may be watching for the first time or listening for the first time, Natalie and I are cousins, and we started this podcast. Also, I feel like this is good for the listener, or the avid listeners, to kind of get the idea of what we're doing, or kind of
Yeah.
reestablish
Revamp.
the idea. So yeah, Natalie and I are cousins. We both love movies. Natalie is a more casual moviegoer. I'm a more critical writer kind of guy. And so we talk about movies here. We talk about what we've watched. We talk about current movies. We talk about old movies, kind of why we like them, from kind of a normal, casual movie going experience to more analytical. We kind of dip our toe in both waters. It's not like she's only that and I'm only this.
Mm-hmm.
And today we're starting to talk about a new movie, Michael. But before we get into that, Natalie, how have you been? It's been a while.
I've been good. I know it's been a second. To catch you guys up, the last episode that we did was Count of Monte Cristo, I believe.
I think so.
And Garrett chose Planet of the Apes. And I just have to say, I did watch it. And I
Mhm.
also watched the second and third one. And I was
But I didn't know
like,
you watched the third one too.
yeah. So I was committed, but
Mm,
busy schedules happened and got crazy. And it just turned into a little bit of a break, but we're back.
we're back.
And I am a little bit sick, so I apologize for my voice and any sniffling that may happen. But
You'll
we
get
had this on
cold
the
ASMR.
schedule. It's taken a second to get here, so I'm committed.
Let's go. Yeah, maybe one day we'll return back to the Apes movies, but we did want to let you guys know that moving forward, we're going to change things around a little bit. If you notice, we talked a lot more about kind of movies that we've watched growing up or movies that we've just had attachments to or whatever. And we're still going to do that. But moving forward, we're going to focus a lot more on the more like current movies coming out into theaters, especially moving into this summer as it's going to be a big summer, kind of a big through the rest of the year. We're going to
hmm
focus a lot more on movies coming out, and then if there's something one week that there's nothing that's really coming out that's big every because we post every 2 weeks. If there's nothing big
Yeah.
in those 2 weeks, we'll revisit something and we'll have that all calendared out so we know and you guys can know as well. But we're gonna start doing a lot more current films, so get excited for that.
Yes. Current
Um,
films.
is
Current
that
on trend.
exactly because those usually are the most viewed videos and podcasts that we've had
We
is
just
the
want to talk
current
about what the
ones.
people are talking about. Because we
Exactly.
watch it too.
And we chase in that bag. So yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I
but
don't
yeah,
know.
we'll
I'm just
still
doing it for the love of the game, Garrett.
okay, I do love the game still, but bag chasing is always good. Well, maybe not always good. There's a million movies to show you why that's not always good. But um, so yeah, we'll still be returning to old movies every now and again. Probably still like a lot of the time, but we're just gonna do a lot more going to theaters, going to keep theaters alive, talking about the newer
Amen.
stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but anyways, what have we watched, Natalie? What have you watched in the last couple months? Before we get into Michael, we usually talk about things
Yes.
that we have watched in the past few weeks, and now it's been a couple months. So, what are some notable things that you've watched in the past few months?
The past few months, me and Garrett have been watching, sometimes even together, Survivor, season
Hmm.
50, which
In the
I think
hands
I've
of the fans.
probably, in the hands of the fans, even though we voted for probably three things.
Hmm.
I've been watching Survivor for the last probably 4 or 5 seasons, um, kind of leading up to Survivor 50, and then I've kind of rewatched some of the earlier seasons, and I honestly feel like I've really enjoyed this season. Um, it's been kind of crazy and chaotic and not at all what I thought it was going to be, but I like it. I always like a returning player season because you already know who you're rooting for, and then you
Totally.
like have people that kind of surprise you. So, been enjoying that. And then just lots of movies. I feel like there haven't been a ton of shows that I've been really watching that have like come out recently.
Hmm.
Some that I've been like waiting for. I know that Prime Video's putting out a couple like teen shows in the next couple of months, which are my jam. I don't know when it is appropriate for me to age out of those, but I'm gonna say never. Anyways, so not a ton of TV, but lots of movies. Going to the theater. I started going to the movie theaters by myself quite frequently. So
Mm,
on my days off, I'll just pick a movie that I want to see and go by myself. So been doing that
that's
a lot.
awesome.
Yeah, I like it. It's usually I pick like a crappy one though. I need to go to the
Yeah.
movies by myself and watch something that's good.
Well, I
But
kind of like, and something that I think would be cool to implement is obviously not every single week there's some blockbuster that comes out, but I do kind of like seeing some like lesser known, sometimes even bad movies in the theater just to like get that experience.
you know,
Like
sometimes I just need to go to the movie theater. I
exactly,
became a
exactly.
megaplex. Okay, so in Utah there's like Cinemark Megaplex. My family's always been megaplex, so I became a megaplex like what are they called? Mega pass holder.
Yeah,
And so I get like the concessions and whatever for a discount and that sort of thing and get like a free ticket every month, which I might just need to upgrade to the 2 tickets per month because I genuinely go to the movies so often now. I'm
yeah.
like, nobody's available. I'll just go by myself.
Hmm.
But yeah, anyways, what have you been watching, Garrett?
And well, today I have also been watching Survivor as you talked about, and I I was talking to your brother about spoilers for anybody who hasn't watched Survivor. I was talking to Brady, your brother, about Survivor and telling him about how last episode was probably one of the most tragic episodes of Survivor I've ever seen in my life.
This is true.
Um, and how almost like Shakespearean it almost was in the sense of how tragic Ozzy's slip was. Because the
Huh?
whole season he's talking about how he's become a different player. He's become a different man. He's a better man now, better player. But then he gets voted out the exact same way that he
That
did
he
last
has
time.
before. Yep.
And it just is
It
like
is a
that.
travesty.
It's just like he hasn't changed. Like it's amazing. So I was telling him that all of this story and how he needs to watch Survivor, and he was like, "I'm just not a reality TV guy." I was like, "Okay, I get that."
Survivor's different though.
Survivor is the closest thing that we have to Hunger Games without actually being Hunger
Did
Games.
you know that Hunger Games was inspired by Survivor?
My point is proven exactly right there.
There you go.
Um, it is such a because in the vast majority of people, I'm a person who enjoys the older seasons more than the newer seasons.
Mm-hmm.
But the newer seasons have had all these wild, stupid twists, turns, especially obviously season 50. And I think obviously there are times like the Billie Eilish Boomerang Idol trademarked
That
that
she
take
doesn't care about.
away, yeah, that take away from Survivor. But I think there's a lot as well that like it just feels like Hunger Games in the sense of it's it's getting like bigger, it's getting crazier. It's not like, for example, the Mr. Beast $2 million thing is crazy. My dad said that was the best episode of Survivor he's ever watched, and he's watched like bajillion seasons. Like it's just so entertaining, but also still so fascinating to see these people like betray each other, but then come become closer together, and like it's just so fascinating. I love this show. It's amazing.
It's a great show. There's lots of stories and people that really become like reality TV stars and characters
Hmm.
that you just root for and it's really fun or you pray for their downfall. You know,
Exactly.
it's fun. It's a good time. If you haven't watched Survivor, I do recommend watching it and starting with some of the earlier seasons so you can get the purest version and then you can kind of like build up to the later seasons, but it's really fun.
It is really fun. Um,
And I
but
grew
yeah,
up watching it, so
besides,
maybe I'm a little biased. Like my parents always
yeah,
had it on, but
yeah. I haven't. I grew up watching it, but I haven't watched it in like probably like 5-ish years, maybe a little bit more. So I've really enjoyed coming back to it. So I recommend if you haven't watched Survivor in a while, come back to it. It's pretty fun. But yeah, besides that, watch Project Hail Mary in theaters. We actually saw
yes,
that
that's a
together.
great one.
Fantastic movie. Wish we would have done an episode on it. Maybe we could in the future, but really
Maybe
good
when it
movie.
comes out for streaming or something.
Yeah. And I read the book beforehand. It was great,
Same.
fantastic.
And by read, I mean listened, because
Exactly. I could not read
so
that
good.
science. It would have just gone over my head.
Amen.
And yeah, besides that, I think nothing that immediately comes to my mind. I know I've gone to the theater a few times. I could check my letterbox,
Same.
but I'm sure we'll talk about. We have a lot to talk about today, anyways. So,
Yes.
um, yes, and I'm sure we'll talk about more of what we've watched in the next couple episodes because we've got a lot of catching up to do. But,
Yeah, it's been
anyways,
too long.
let's just jump into Michael, the biopic
Michael.
of Michael Jackson, the skinniest Jackson, some would
The
say.
skinniest Jackson. With my
So
cold voice.
yeah, so what? Just to kind of paint you the picture of my experience with this movie, well, I guess let's lay the foundation. Let's lay the foundation of our relationship with Michael Jackson before we start this.
Okay. I
I think
like
that would
it.
be
I
appropriate.
like it.
So my
Tell me
dad has
about it.
always grown like my dad loves Michael Jackson. I've grown up listening to the music. I love Michael Jackson's music. We don't need to get into all the controversy stuff, but I am kind of a defender of Michael Jackson, especially with recent news things that have been coming out that we won't mention. I think there's a lot
As he
to that
mentions
story.
it.
There's a lot to that story. But anyways, I've loved Michael Jackson. I think his music is great. Just as a creative, he's so fascinating. He's just a fascinating person. Like it makes sense they make a movie about him because he's just such a interesting guy. But my family went to see this movie when I was hanging out with friends or at a wedding or something like that. So I didn't see it with them, and I needed to see it for this episode. So I went to Megaplex. Shout out Megaplex again. To or
Sponsor
this
us.
morning at 9 o'clock in the morning and went to the mega screen and sat
Wow.
there by myself. Literally nobody else in the entire theater,
I had one of those experiences as well.
and I kind of loved it. Like I'm not
Isn't
gonna
it
lie, like that
great?
experience was fantastic. And I've gone to movies before by myself when there's people there, and that's still fun. I think
No, but having a theater to yourself is
having it to
just
myself.
legendary.
Like like I felt a lot more comfortable just like snapping along and dancing along to the songs. Not that I was standing up and
He's
dancing, but
like
yeah,
in the
just
corner.
moonwalking and crossing. But yeah, so I thought it was great. I thought being in that or having a by yourself moment in the theater was great. So just wanted to shout that out or just point that out. Everybody go to movies by yourself if you don't have people to go with. Yes, it's better to go with people, but sometimes it's just fun to go by
Sometimes it's
yourself.
better to go by yourself.
Exactly.
I love
Depends on
it.
the movie. But yeah, anyways,
That was your theater experience.
exactly.
I love it. I think Annie told me that you guys had the first Blu-ray disc you ever had was like a tour documentary about the tour that never happened
This
for
is
Michael
us,
Jackson.
or this is
There you
it.
go.
Was I
This is
can't,
it.
one of
Something.
those things? Yeah.
Well, that's legendary. Cool. Well, my experience with the movie coming out was that we just got tickets to go see it opening night, and I loved it. My experience with Michael Jackson growing up was it wasn't like I was ever really like obsessed when I was little, but I have three celebrity deaths that I vividly remember, and Michael Jackson is the first one.
Same.
I remember exactly where I was and like how it felt and everything. I was in my grandma's kitchen in Denver, Colorado, and she had a little like corner TV in that kitchen, and I remember seeing like the news and everything. Anyways,
How old
so
were we? Because I remember that too, and we must have been
we
like
were little.
we were
Yeah,
little.
younger than 10. What year did he
Yeah,
die again?
I can't remember, but it was early 2000s.
Early 2000s. So we were young. And I think we looked it up, but I can't remember how old we were. Anyways, like 6 or 7 probably.
Yeah.
And then when this is kind of random, but when I was in middle school, elementary school, middle school, like when I was younger, but like not too young, we got surprised for spring break to go on a trip to Disneyland, but my parents were trying to keep it a surprise and were telling us that we weren't going to Disneyland. And so they took us to Vegas first, and we thought that was our spring break. And while we stopped in Vegas, we went to the Michael Jackson like Cirque du Soleil show in
Yeah,
Vegas.
yeah, yeah.
And that was probably where my like true affinity and love for and admiration for Michael Jackson started, because I was like, oh, like I know a lot of his music, and it also introduced me to a lot of music that I hadn't ever heard, and so that's when like the Michael Jackson like not obsession but like appreciation started,
Totally.
um, and then I think just with the biopic coming out, it's just kind of like relit like a little bit of a fire of like, oh, this guy's like
Mm.
really cool. I also am a Michael Jackson defender. Um, I think just like you were saying with like recent things kind of diving deeper into it, I'm just like, I just think he was a misunderstood guy and people were coming after
Hmm.
him, and that's it.
Yeah, it's not to. We'll get into this in a second, but it's not to say that I think he was a perfect person by any means. But
Nah,
I think
nobody is.
just talk to Macaulay Culkin. Just
Mm-hmm.
ask that guy's opinion of Michael Jackson. I think that kind of covers it. Specifically, he was on like Larry King or something years and years ago and talked about it. But, anyways, let's talk about the movie now. Michael.
Get into it.
So, what? Just kind of off the jump, off the cuff. What'd you think of the movie?
I loved it. Here's my thing with biopics in general is that I love them. I think that they're
Mm,
entertaining. I love movies about music and with music. I love musicals. I love pop culture, and so like usually if you give me a biopic and it's about somebody that I'm interested in and like I like their music, I'm gonna like it.
yeah.
So, like for example, Elvis, loved that movie. Like I just think that like that's just kind of in my wheelhouse. So I really loved the movie. I've loved the content that has come from it. So I love Jafar. I think he's
Mm,
insane. I think the kid that played like little Michael Jackson, also insane. They like both just did a really good job portraying Michael Jackson, and there were times that as I was watching it, I was like, dude, that's literally Michael Jackson. Like, what
totally.
the heck? What did you think?
Before I get into like all my overall thoughts, like kind of just to comment on Jafar, I think he's so good in this. Like there are so many moments, kind of to your point of I just forget that I'm not watching Michael Jackson. Like that's not him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he obviously I was a kid. I don't remember a lot of Michael Jackson stuff, but even still, like from what I've seen now, like he just looks, he just feels, he just talks, he moves like exactly how his uncle did.
Mm-hmm.
I really
And seeing
hope
like the side by sides too.
exactly.
Crazy.
I hope we see him in like more stuff because I'm interested to see because I think he was a fantastic actor in this, and I want
Mm-hmm.
him to be a fantastic actor in other things because
Mm-hmm.
this was a way to go, like way to start. Like this was crazy. So
Yeah,
I
I
hope he
wonder
gets
what he'll
into
do from
more
here on out.
exactly to kind of see like, okay, does this kid actually have it, or is he just good at imitating Michael? Which I think he's actually got it because that was. I feel like you can't not. I feel like you can't do that good of a job without not being a good actor. Like you have to
Yeah.
be a good actor to do it that well. So I hope we get to see him in more stuff. But with Jafar out of the way, with my praise with that out of the way, I think I saw a review on Letterboxd that I think kind of sums up my thoughts very well. Um, so you being a person who loves biopics, I'm not a big biopic person. And to quote this review, it says the most generic biopic you've ever seen, but with the greatest music you've ever heard. And I feel like that kind of sums up my thoughts. Like I don't, by no means would I call this movie like bad or super bad by any means, but I don't like biopics a lot of the time because I feel like they, which I get, that's why a lot of people like them, is they're just like, let's see this person's life.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I don't necessarily love that they chose to do 2 decades of his life because I feel like we could have slowed a lot down and fleshed a lot of things out. For example, there's the Michael Broadway show, which focuses on like it's during his bad tour, like one of his tours, like late '90s, early 2000s. So I think it's post bad tour, but um, it's the story of like this reporter lady. I'm pretty sure it's based on a true story of this girl, but this reporter who was able to do like this piece on Michael Jackson, which he notoriously never did let many reporters and stuff do any of this stuff. And so it focuses on just that era. And as she gets to know Michael and he opens up more and it'll do some flashbacks every now and again. I feel like that approach for me personally would have been a little bit better because then you get more time to flesh out Michael as like a character. You get more time to flesh out the dynamics between everybody. Um, and I don't know. I think that approach to me just feels a little bit more movie, a little bit more like film, and less just, hey, let's play this guy's greatest hits and have some song or some story beats in between, kind of.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely like a concert movie. Like, I don't think. Here's my thing with biopics in general is that, and especially with this one, because I think that they ran into a lot of legal trouble in the making of this movie that I've heard about with different things that different
With the
people that
family.
restrict, yeah, people that were like restricting, like their name and likeness being in the movie, which took away from plot points. Legal trouble in that they couldn't talk about certain controversies in Michael's life that I think a lot of people were hoping to see and be fleshed
Hmm.
out. Um, but I think for like this biopic in general, like I'm just like, was I entertained? Yes. Did I get story that made it worth it? Yes. And
Hmm.
did I hear the music and enjoy what I saw? 100%. And was there insane talent? Yeah. Like,
Hmm.
I think that when you go into like a biopic knowing what you're gonna get, then you can be satisfied. But I think that that's what a lot of like critics have been saying is it's like, well, they didn't really like talk about all of the stuff. And I'm like, well,
Hmm.
maybe that's not what the point was. Maybe the point was just for it to be a fun, good, entertaining movie for people to enjoy and come together over, you know?
Totally.
Like that's my thoughts. And I do think that they are looking into doing the part 2. So,
Hmm. Which
anyways,
that better be called Jackson.
Michael and Jackson.
Exactly. But yeah, I think to kind of what you were talking about legal trouble, that was one of my thoughts. Is I think the movie being so attached to the Jackson family in terms of like the behind the scenes and the making of, kind of damaged it in a way. Of obviously they couldn't talk about certain things and they wanted to respect certain things and stuff like that. But I think in doing so, I guess I'll put it this way. I feel like it's when an author is too involved in the adaptation of their work, a lot of the times that can fumble. Obviously, they should be involved. I'm not saying they shouldn't be because we have a million and one experiences of why that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Authors should be involved in the adaptations of their work. But when you have a lot of the time when an author is too heavily involved or has too much control, they have a hard time really deciding like what works in a movie form and things like that.
Yeah.
Like J.K. Rowling, a lot of the Harry Potter movies were so good because she was involved, but like not on like a filmmaking level, mainly just on kind of some story beats
Yeah.
and the world and stuff like that. And then when she was super involved with Fantastic Beasts, we saw what happened with that. And a more recent example, I think less extreme, with like Rick Riordan with the Percy Jackson TV show. Obviously, movie's bad still, really bad. But I think the TV show and him being too involved, it makes it feel like it's just doing like kind of, even though there's differences, they're doing a lot of just the book, like exactly,
Yeah.
and following the pacing of the book, which I just don't think translates very
Translate
well to
as
the
well.
screen.
Yeah.
And in a weird way, I think that's how the Jackson family being involved in this kind of made it feel,
Yeah.
in the sense of, oh, I would have, like, if they weren't as involved, you could have focused, because I feel like they should have focused a lot more on like the brothers in the Jackson Five, besides them just being kind of the background.
Yeah.
A lot of the
I mean,
movie
I
is,
do think that it would have been more interesting, like, if they were going to make it. And I do think that I've seen a lot of people say that similar things is that if they were going to make. If you're going to make it, like, make it, like,
mhm,
include a lot of it. And, like, if you're going to split it up, then at least, like, make it accurate and, like, dive more into other people's stories.
totally.
So I get it. 100%.
And I think the critics are overblowing it of how bad it is, but I think I agree in a lot of what, from what I've seen anyways, some of their sentimentalities. A lot of the critics who are like, they should have talked about the controversy. It's like, well, no, because that hadn't happened yet over the
Yeah.
timeline of the movie. That doesn't happen until later. So I think that criticism is stupid because, especially if we're getting a sequel, like, sure, have that criticism for the sequel, but like that just wasn't involved in his life yet. So I don't think there's a point to. Um, but I do agree in the sense of, because to your point of, oh, if it's just like a musical fun concert movie, like that's one thing. Like, let's have fun with that and let's just go to have fun, which I think is a totally valid point. But I think the movie does try, because it devotes most of the time to the Jackson family and his relationship with his dad and him wanting to break away and stuff. And obviously there's a significant portion still dedicated to like the songs and the concerts and stuff like that. But I feel like there's so much time devoted to the family that I wish if we weren't rushing through the decades, we could have expounded on. Because I think there's a lot of
Yeah.
scenes of Michael just being like, it's a lot of tell, don't show, right? Of, I want to change the world, or I need to let go of my dad and stuff like that. Like a lot of moments where they just like tell us something where it's like, okay, yeah, I kind of got that already, Mike. Like you didn't need to tell me that.
Yeah.
So I think to your point of if it's going to be a fun concert movie, for me, I feel like it was one or two more fun concert scenes away from being a fun concert movie. Like commit to one. Like, do you want to be a film or do you want to be the greatest hits album, like a jukebox musical? Which it was in some ways, but I feel like it should have leaned more heavily into that if it wanted to, or lean more heavily into the film if it wanted to, like the film story of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely see that. I think that for coming from a casual, not as critical viewer, and I think the reason why it's resonated with so many people is that it's a good amount of both. Would be my argument for it, is that it's like, I think if it gets too heavy into like the drama and the details of the behind the scenes, his life and stuff, then it's going to get too heavy for a casual viewer for them to just like love it as much. But then it's still balancing the fun, the music. 'Cause you don't want to go to a Michael Jackson movie and not have enough music, you know, like, or
Totally.
not have enough dancing. So I think that with what they were able to do, it was a good balance of both. I also think that props to the people who made the movie and put it together and tried their best to get as much in it as they could for whatever restrictions that they had. Because I do think that that would be really hard to look at a man's life that literally his career started when he was, what, 8? And, like, try to figure out what are the most important details that we need to fit into, like, a 2-hour movie. Like, I don't think that that's easy, right? So, I don't know. I think that argument is made for both, but...
And I think what you just described is kind of one of the reasons I didn't love the movie is because it could... One of the reasons I liked it but didn't love it is you could kind of tell it was almost bred in a lab to please the most amount of people.
Which
We
isn't a
want
bad
to-
thing, Garrett, when you're making
It's
a movie.
But like, you need an
When you're
audience. Like you need, like you can't make
I
if your movie is
understand
for.
that,
It's the
but they're
syndrome
trying to
ideology,
make money.
right? It's the syndrome ideology of if everyone's super, no one will be. If the movie's for everybody, it's for no one. Like there should be some audience because there's Michael Jackson super fans who hate this movie.
I
And then there's Michael
understand.
Jackson super fans that love this movie. So I think it's
I think the argument can be made that for Michael specifically, Michael Jackson was for everybody,
yeah, true.
right? And so it's like, okay, how are we going to make a movie that everybody likes, that casual Michael Jackson fans like, that super fans like? I don't think you're going to please everybody, but I think that going into making a movie about Michael Jackson, you're trying to make it as broad as possible because everybody loved him. Kids loved him, adults loved him, old people loved him, black people loved him, white people loved him. Like, he literally was loved by everybody. And so I think to honor his legacy in that way is to make a movie that can also be loved by a broad audience.
Yeah, and I think that's because in my perspective, the Jedi are evil. In my perspective, I think like the way to honor his legacy is to kind of be more honest in what the story is or how the events went or something like that. For example, weird comparison that if you're not a member of the LDS Church, you're not going to get. There's a Joseph Smith movie on Gospel Library that is, I watched it a million times on my mission, and it's not really good because it's not really the actual story. Like they cut out a lot of things or change the order of certain things and try to make it so it's like, oh, we want to please the most amount of people or and stuff like that. Which is like, this isn't how he actually was. Like this isn't honest to who this man was. And it's not that I think Michael was dishonest with who Michael was, but I think there was a lot that like because I think your argument of like, wasn't he for everybody? Like, shouldn't this movie be for everyone then? I think that's totally valid. And I think a lot of people would agree with that. And even to some degree, I would agree with that. But just Like we're not. If you love Michael Jackson that much, listen to his music. Like movies are as a different art form. Like you're trying to tell a different story. You're trying to do something different.
But if you're
Uh,
trying to save movies, Garrett, don't you want everybody to go see them?
but like yes, but at the same time, if I don't know if a Michael Jackson movie is going to be the movie to save all movies, right? I think a
No, I
movie is going to be the
agree.
one to save all
I
movies.
agree. But maybe the
And
Michael
at the end of the
Jackson
day,
movie is
like
the gateway drug for people who haven't been to the movies
that's
in
true.
so long, you
And
know?
I think you're
And I
right, but at
think
the
that
same
this
time,
movie is
like
getting people in their seats in the theater because it's
yes, but I
catering to
think
a large audience.
Michael Jackson was a big enough guy that just the movie being called Michael gets butts and seats, right? You don't need to make it as
Gets
palatable
butts
to
and
get butts and
seats.
seats.
It gets butts and seats. I agree. But
Hmm.
also, does it get butts and seats again? You know what I mean? It's like, okay, do we want majority of audiences, which if you're looking at the numbers, Rotten Tomatoes, do we want majority of people to walk out of this movie and say, dang, that was a really good time. That was
Hmm.
entertaining. And I think that as somebody who like thinks like for you, that's like a critic and thinking more like what you probably would have changed or done about the
Hmm.
movie to like make it better. I think it's also valid to be like, well, it could have been done better, and I agree that it could have been done better in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
But I do think that for a majority of people, they're going to the movie to go see Michael because it says Michael on it. And then they're
Totally.
leaving and saying, that was really fun and entertaining, and maybe I should go to the movies more.
Yeah, that's true. But I
You
think
know what I
there,
mean?
I to, that's the thing is I 100% understand what you're saying, and I would agree with a lot of what you're saying. I just think that, like, I had a thought and then it left me kind of on the lines of how I kind of thinking about like, oh, what I would have done. One thing that I was thinking about is just kind of a weird comparison, but I think if I'm making the Michael Jackson movie, I want to treat Michael kind of how The Chosen treats Jesus. Hear me out. I'm not trying to
He's
compare
in a
Michael
spirit.
Jackson and
He's in a
Jesus,
spiritual place right
but
now,
what I
everybody.
mean by that is like,
Joseph Smith name drop and Jesus.
and Jesus, just got off work from the MTC. Um, but I think you kind of make it in the perspective of the people around him, and then as the movie goes on, he becomes more like less of the protagonist and more of the central figure. Not to just bring it back to this, but I think the stage play is not fantastic. It's not like a perfect adaptation. I'm not saying that that's incredible, but I like the approach and the idea of the approach of we're going to start in the perspective of this random reporter lady, and as she gets to know Michael, who lived an intentionally, as she points out in this movie, lived an intentionally mysterious and private life. As she got to know him, he starts opening up more, starts talking about his dad, starts talking about the Jackson Five and growing up and his like trauma involved with that. I think to me that's a much more interesting story, and I think you still can get like all the fun music experiences, you get some fun flashbacks, whatever, but you still have that more emotional core to it, at least more honest emotional core in my opinion. Which it's not like there's not an emotional core in this movie. Like all of my criticisms, all of my ideas, like if the movie was just a straight up bad movie, I wouldn't care about any of this. This episode would have been over in 10 minutes. But it's because I can see the seeds of something so interesting, like right there. And I wish they would have like watered them a little bit more and let those things grow or those ideas grow. Because I
Yeah.
think Joseph Jackson, his dad, is kind of a cartoon villain in this movie. Where I feel like there's a lot of scenes where he's like smoking by the fire, like I'm gonna force Michael to go on a tour. And it's like, okay, yeah, that's a cartoon villain. And I like it's not that necessarily a bad performance or anything. I just think there could be a little bit more nuance. He's kind of like, have you seen Whiplash?
Mm-mm.
Um, well, let's shout out Miles Teller, who's in both of those movies. You need to watch Whiplash. That's going on the list of movies we need to do. Um, he was kind of like the diet version of the main villain of Whiplash, who he's just as evil, he's just as abusive, but there's a lot more nuance to his character of,
Mm-hmm.
but he really does love the music and he really does care about his student or kind of in a way his students and things like that. Whereas I feel like they were trying to do that with Joseph, but they didn't really hit that.
Yeah.
But anyways, I don't want to just keep dogging on the movie the whole time, but I just again like it was there. Like I feel like there was all the pieces there to make a really really good movie, and what we got was like a fine movie that everybody's gonna love.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some pros I do want to say though. I love that Michael's first line of the movie, like Baby Michael's first line after the first like song with him practicing with his boys, is "Shut up, Latoya." I think that's really funny, especially if you know the relationship of Michael Jackson and Latoya. I think that's really funny. Obviously, I think the music carries this movie, like far and away carries the movie. The best
Mm-hmm.
parts about this movie for me were the stuff that Michael Jackson's Ghost was making this movie good, because it was all of
Yeah.
his songs, all of the dance numbers that Jafar was going back to and referencing and stuff like that. Which again, Jafar did a great job. I'm not dogging by that any means. And the concert sequences were fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I loved a lot about this movie, and I do think I agree. I think the music overall is definitely what carries the movie, which I think is what you'd expect in a movie
A
like
musical
this.
biopic.
Yes. So, and the performances and seeing like the work that Jafar did, the side by sides of like the performances, what he
Hmm.
studied, have been like the most interesting thing. And then just like hearing the behind the scenes stuff, um, with Jafar and like what he did to prepare for the role, how it kind of was just not that it was handed to him, but the opportunity presented itself, and then he was able to kind of like hone in his craft and like do something that he never thought he would ever do, and like go on this spiritual experience of like basically becoming his uncle, which I think is really cool. Um, and I do think that like a lot of the draw for me in a biopic in general is the work that it takes to like become a person, because when you're
Mm.
imitating somebody, I think that's just like another, especially an icon, it's just like another kind of skill set of acting. And I remember
Mm.
thinking that that was so interesting in Elvis too, like seeing like the behind the scenes, hearing like Austin Butler talk about how he kind of like got into that headspace and what he did to prepare. And so, and I think that the fact that Jafar is related to Michael Jackson makes it even better, because then you like he gets a little bit more of like insight, and he can talk to his dad and like his aunts and uncles and whatever, and he literally like practiced in the home that he grew up in, but also where Michael grew up and where he would have practiced.
Mm.
Like I just think that it's really cool to see like the behind the scenes of that. But
Totally.
um yeah. And I honestly, I feel, for me personally, the emotional beats of this movie worked. I thought that the beginning, even though a lot of it, I will agree, it was rushed, there wasn't as much as I definitely left the movie being like, oh, like, there could have been more to the story, 100%. I will
Hmm.
1,000% agree on that. But I will say that the emotional like storylines that they were telling, like at the very beginning of the movie when they're focusing on the Jackson 5, and like the you get to see some of the abuse that Michael went through even as a child, like that really got me. Like I was so sad about that. And
Mm.
just like things like that, like there were things that happened in the movie that I was like, dang, like it's actually crazy that this is the life that he lived. Or even just like, and I do get that a little bit of it is kind of goofy, right?
Mm.
Like Joe Jackson, the whole thing with like the like gang violence, and then he's like, I'ma bring the gangs together. Like I get it. I get that it's like I get that it's goofy, but I also am like, it worked because Michael was low-key a goofy guy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I thought it was great.
Totally. Wanted more Bubbles, honestly. After
Honestly,
Planet of the Apes.
I don't even care about Bubbles.
You
Love
don't care
him.
about Bubbles?
Love
What?
him, but yeah, he's a tender little monkey, but I feel like Bubbles had enough screen time for sure.
That is something that I think I will say is like some of the things that they chose to focus on. I feel like we could have not focused on and added more to added more to like the some story beats we were talking about. Like I feel like you could take out all the Bubble stuff. You could take out all the stuff about him going to get a nose job, and like replace that with more drama.
I understand that. I do think that the nose job is important after like
Mm.
seeing lots of interviews and stuff, because plastic surgery, his image changing so drastically over the years, and I think the nose job was like the first part of that,
Yeah.
is was important to keep in. And I also like at the very beginning when his dad literally tells him that he's like a big nose, and then like seeing him turn. I also have seen I think there's an interview. I can't remember if I'm thinking of the right one, but Lisa Marie Presley and him were doing an interview together, and she was talking about how he's a perfectionist and how he puts it in his work, right? Like, he wants to make sure everything is correct. And I've watched a lot of Michael stuff since the movie I saw
Yeah.
the movie. But I also saw a video of like a background dancer talking about like how when they would rehearse, like Michael wouldn't necessarily like tell them that they're doing a bad job, but like they would run through the choreography or whatever, and then he would sit there and watch and just kind of like nod his head and like be like, "Yeah, I need some work." Like he wouldn't let
Mm-hmm.
anybody like he wouldn't ever really praise anybody because and I think he probably got that from Joe, right? It's like anything can be better. And so I think that he kind of took that to his physical appearance too with surgeries and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, not the skin bleaching theories because that
Yeah.
wasn't a thing. But like, he obviously was getting work done from a young age. And
Totally.
I think because he wanted to be a perfectionist in all aspects of his life, he's just an interesting guy, you know?
He is a
So
very
that's why I
interesting
think
guy.
that was somewhat important to keep in.
Yeah.
But Bubbles, not so much. Like I'm like I think
Mm-hmm.
it's funny like the animals and whatever, like keeping in like the llama and whatever. That's great. I just think
Totally.
that I agree that we could have spent less time on some of that stuff. Um, but there were also some things that I really liked in it with the story, like the Pepsi commercial
Mm-hmm.
and like the
That's why I drink
hospital.
Coke. That's why I drink
That's
Coke.
why I've always said that. Just kidding.
Pepsi
I
killed
actually had
Michael
no
Jackson.
idea that that happened.
Really?
Uh, yeah, I had no idea that that had happened until I saw this movie, and I can't believe that that is literally so crazy.
You can
Um,
almost tie literally a direct line between the Pepsi commercial and him
his
overdosing.
yeah, his death.
Uh-huh.
Crazy. Anyways, sorry, I'll stop yapping now.
That's why we have this podcast because we are both yappers. All right, but I think you brought up a good point of him not really necessarily complimenting people, getting that from Joe, because I have a question. We do questions on this podcast for those who are joining us for the first time. And one of the questions I thought of during the movie, and I wish they kind of addressed this more, but I get why they didn't. But this is like basically what this plot of Whiplash is kind of this question in a sense. So, is there a Michael Jackson without Joseph Jackson?
First response, obviously not. That's his dad. He wouldn't
Hmm.
exist without his
Obviously, yes. But besides how to make a child aside,
dad. Um, I think no. Like I think
hmm
you're a product of your environment in a lot of ways if you go back to psychology. And do I think that he would really have reached his potential as an artist without being forced into it from the beginning, from birth? Probably not, right? Like, do I think that? But I do also believe that some people are just born to be stars. Like, he had
hmm
God given talent um, that I don't think a lot of people will ever reach. But I also do think that there are people that have a lot of talent that don't reach their full potential in like fame. So, yes and no. Like I do think that do I think that he would have been successful maybe an artist cuz I do think he's a creative person. Yes. Do I think he would have reached the same heights if he wasn't as forced into doing what he wanted to do? Probably not. You know?
yeah,
I don't
I
know if that's
think
a good answer, but
no, I think that's I kind of it's weird because by no means by us saying this are we condoning abuse.
no.
But
Never. I hate
with that
Joe.
said, like would he really I don't know if he would have reached his full potential without maybe not necessarily like obviously yeah maybe Joe whipping him wasn't necessarily needed to be involved, but I think Joe pushing him into being a star and being a perfectionist obviously caused a lot of problems as we saw, but I don't know if we have a Michael Jackson movie to talk about if Joe Jackson wasn't like as weird and as like kind of evil as that is. Like I don't know if Michael Jackson really fully exists in how he does now without some sort of push. And I
Yeah.
think that kind of you need to watch Whiplash. Um, but I think that because I don't necessarily believe that he needed to be as crazy as he was in order for Michael to reach those same heights. But I do think a lot of people who, like you were saying, have potential and don't reach it because somebody's not giving them some tough love. And not to say
Yeah.
what Joe Jackson was tough love. I don't think it was. I think it was
No,
way
it's
worse and way
abuse.
more. But there's a difference between tough love versus abuse. There's a difference between somebody pushing you and wanting you to be better out of love and out of seeing your potential versus I'm going to do this for my own selfish reasons.
Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, I think that it's probably, like you were saying, a little bit of both. And yeah, it's crazy. I do think that, like, obviously there probably should have been a lot more encouragement. I think that maybe Michael could have become what he was in the same way if he was pushed differently. Does that
Mm-hmm.
make sense? Like
Totally.
I don't like you were saying, I don't think abuse was necessary to get Michael to where he was, but I do think that like seeing potential, using potential and like honing in on talent is like also important. I don't know that it's important from that young of an age because I think you do need to like grow up and be a
Have
kid.
your brain develop a little bit.
Yeah, like I think it goes back to the whole like Disney Channel stars stuff too. Like a lot of them went through somewhat similar upbringings of abuse and being taken advantage of by parents or um, executives or whatever. Like I think that it's very similar ideas where you're like it probably wasn't necessary, but they wouldn't be where they were if it didn't happen, you know? Kind of crazy.
Totally. Yeah.
But good thing is that the world is changing
Hmm.
somewhat. We would love to hope.
Yeah. And I think the silver lining of this whole discussion and this whole thing is that, like, Michael made the best of his circumstances
Of what he
and
could, yeah.
of what he could. But on a more lighter note, same question or still in the question category. What's your favorite Michael Jackson song? I'll say from this movie specifically.
From this movie,
Hmm. This
even
era of Michael Jackson. So it can be
okay.
maybe it wasn't shown in the movie, but it was in this 2 decade run.
I will say from the movie specifically, Human Nature has just been like really, really hitting, and the performance that Jafar did lives rent free in the brain. Um, yeah, probably Human Nature. I think that one's just been hitting. Probably Could Change. I've grown an appreciation for Beat It over the last couple of weeks.
Hmm.
I think it's just like iconic songs, but I will say um, one of my favorite Jackson 5 songs is Blame It on the Boogie.
Hmm.
And the reason why I love that song so much is actually because of the performance in Pitch Perfect. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
It's like the band that's using the kid that's too young to like
Hmm.
be, and then that's how the Bard and Bellas get into it is
I
because they
forgot that
expose
that's
that
such an
kid.
important thing that it's all
Yeah,
revolving around "Blame It on the Boogie" as the song.
yeah. Because I remember anytime they would play that song, I was like, "What is this?" And then I eventually was like, figured out what Shazam was, figured out what the song was, and then
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, that's literally Michael Jackson. That's crazy." What are your favorite songs?
I think from this movie, I'm just looking at the soundtrack. Um, I loved the "Don't Stop Till You Get Enough" sequence of him
Yeah,
going
and
through his
that
first
music video is
album.
so fun.
That got me like the whole time. Like that was the first song where like I don't think it's possible to watch this movie without snapping your finger or tapping your foot or doing something.
Just picturing Garrett just
Literally, I was. That's literally what I was doing. Um, I mean, I love Thriller. I really loved them recreating the music video and stuff and the
yeah.
choreography of that all. Billy G. Oh, he has so many good songs. So yeah, I
You
think
really
probably
can't choose a bad one.
right now I'll say I'll stick with "Don't Stop Till You Get Enough." I think that was my favorite sequence in the movie, or one of my favorite sequences in the movie of him making his first album. I
Yeah,
thought that was really really cool.
I agree. That's
Um,
fun.
I will say my favorite song, which you can answer this too if it's different, but my favorite song right now, probably outside of the movie, I love They Don't Really Care About Us. I think that song
Mm.
slaps. It goes so hard.
Yeah.
Um, Also, there's that one. I can't remember what it's called, but it's the end of some, like maybe like three people are gonna know this, but the song that plays in the end credits of Free Willy is a Michael Jackson song, and I can't remember what it is, but I love that song.
He did a
Um,
couple of those, right?
mhm.
Like, was he on the soundtrack for? I don't know. Anyways, I do know what you're talking about, though.
Yeah, I love that song. Can't
Yeah.
remember what it is, but sweet. Well, those are about the questions I have. I have one more, but I think I'm gonna skip that one. Actually, no. Let's talk about
Just
this.
go for it. You can't say that and then
So,
not ask the question, Garrett.
we've talked around this point a little bit. So, knowing the controversy that follows in MJ's life in the if they were to do a sequel, do you want a sequel knowing what it's probably going to have to touch upon?
Do I want a sequel? Yes. I think that your point from earlier being with like the Jackson family being super involved in like the creation of
Mhm.
this first movie and most likely the second movie, it's going to be interesting to see how they approach it. And I don't know that
Mhm.
it'll necessarily be the correct approach,
Yeah,
but I would like to see it. I would like to see like what story they tell and what they include and what they can include and all
totally.
that. Yeah, what do you think?
I would definitely like despite me not loving this movie, like I would definitely love a sequel. I'd definitely go see it. Um
Would you watch this movie again?
if it I would never necessarily choose to watch this movie again by myself, but if my family's having a movie night and they turn on Michael, like I'm not going to say no.
Okay.
Um
Because I've been dying to go back. I want to go
yeah.
see it again.
I think the biggest like so many critiques of this movie and it's such a big thing is like why didn't they talk about any of the controversy, which is again is stupid
Again,
because that wasn't
not
involved in
in
his life yet.
the life
But
at
I
that
think because
point.
it was is such a contentious topic among critics and among some people, I feel like even with the Jackson family being involved, I feel like you got to touch upon it in some way.
Yeah, well, and I think that they will. I just wonder how they'll approach it.
Totally. Because apparently they had scenes filmed with it, but then they had to take them out because of the family and
the
because of
The
legal stuff and
entire movie was supposed to be completely different, and it was actually supposed to be focused more on
his later
that part
life.
of his
Yeah.
life. But then they had to take it out. And there were lots of things like Diana Ross was. They filmed
Hmm.
scenes with an actress that played Diana Ross that they completely cut. Like there's so many things that were
See, that's
didn't
the
make
movie
it.
that I wished this movie was because I think you get the musical biopic fun of it, but I think they also touched upon more interesting and like weighty story beats. Like I wish we got that, or at least knew a little bit more of what that was going to be.
Yeah,
But anyway, so I think if they do a sequel, which I feel like they're going to have to, um, I would love to
I
see it.
think
I
it's
think it would
been
be
one of
great
the
to see
most
it.
successful biopics to date, right?
Yeah, and
Like
that's
money
something
wise.
I did want to talk a little bit about towards the end here. Is I don't know if our generation necessarily, and even myself, I don't know if we really fathom how big of a deal Michael Jackson was.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot. It actually came to my mind after I saw the movie. I was like, I genuinely don't know that anybody has been or ever will be as big as Michael
Hmm.
Jackson. Because again, man of the people. He
Totally.
genuinely catered to everybody. Everybody knew who Michael Jackson was around the entire world. Everybody loved him. That I
Hmm.
cannot think of a single artist that like across age spectrums, across race, that everybody loves and appreciates. And obviously, there were probably people that didn't love Michael Jackson, but I
Hmm.
do think that the majority loved. Like, can you
Totally.
think of an artist now that, like, if I went and talked to my dad and then went and talked to my little sister that they both listened to and liked that is current? Like, you know what I mean? That, like,
Totally.
I can
Yeah, I don't
also
think
like,
they're.
that I also appreciate, that you also appreciate, that a random guy on the street also loves, you know? Like, I don't think there is.
I don't think there is, and like to your point, I don't know if there ever really is going to be, because that was the
No.
thing about Michael is he not only catered to everybody, but he was somehow able to do that in a way that was still like honest to
Yeah, well,
himself.
it's honest to himself and to, like, his audience too. Like
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't trying, and I do think like was he was sending messages that everybody loved and like it wasn't controversial messages. Like
Totally.
it was like I don't know. It's just interesting to like go back and listen and it's like yeah, like he was still doing stuff that artists do now, but it wasn't like pushy or annoying.
Mm-hmm.
He was just being himself and being honest. I don't know.
Which is funny because you say that and you're right, but then it was still pushing boundaries, like that whole
Yeah,
MTV thing.
it's
And
true.
um, again, like my favorite Michael Jackson song right now, "They Don't Really Care About Us," is a song that is like very vocally like talking about like corruption and fighting back against corruption, but the song's a banger, and everybody can kind of agree with what he's talking about. So it's like, sure, it's still talking about some sort of political message, but it's like if you listen to that song and you're like, nah, he's wrong, it's like, then you're a fascist. What are you talking about? Like, no, we should treat people right. What are you talking about? So
It's
that
funny because it's like all of the political messages in his songs. It's like, yeah, no, like period. Like
mhm.
everybody should agree with this.
It's like when people were talking about how Superman was a woke movie. It's like, what are you talking about? It's just be nice to people. What are you talking about? How can you have a problem with
Dude,
this movie?
people just be looking for the bad these
Exactly.
days.
So yeah, I think to kind of roll it back around, Michael Jackson had women fainting at his concerts. Like,
Correct.
who else has had that? Michael Jackson jumped out of the
I could
Super
name a
Bowl.
few.
Michael Jackson jumps out to this day has the best Super Bowl performance in my opinion. Jumps
100%.
out,
He
comes out
is
of a
the reason
stage,
there is a Super Bowl halftime
exact
performance.
stands there for 2 minutes, does nothing but takes off his glasses, and it's the most like no man has ever had that aura ever. It's so
And
cool.
never will. Unless there's like a
Exactly.
literal superhuman that somehow exists.
Totally. So I think he's I wish I walked out of this movie wishing like, man, I totally wish I could have seen him in concert.
I know that's what my dad said actually. We
Mm-hmm.
walked out and he was like, I just regret I never saw him live.
Because he was like, no, not only did he, because there's some artists that they can record a really good album, but then performing they're not very good, or vice versa. Michael could do both, and he was just like, Jafar does a really good job of showing like he was just moving the whole time.
Yeah.
Like he couldn't.
Captivating.
I love. There's a old video of real Michael Jackson from the '60s, '70s. He's on some talk show and he's singing like a slower song, but he can't help himself and he gets up and he starts dancing. It's not really a song to dance to, but then he makes it a song to dance to. It's like that's
Mhm.
just who he was. Like he just had to move, had to express himself in some way. And I
I
think
love
that's
it.
so. Yeah,
The
he's
music was in him.
exactly.
Did you know? Did you know that Kenny Ortega was also like I don't know if he was a choreographer or if he was like some sort of director for his tours, but he like
Mhm.
worked with Michael Jackson on his tour stops,
I
like
think I knew
to
that. I think
like
I
put
did
it
hear about
together. He
that.
was like a director or something. Just another reason why Kenny Ortega is the GOAT. I love that man. Just had to shout my man out.
Hmm. All right, so final thoughts. Before we get into thoughts, our ranking system. So how we rank things is we do an objective score and a subjective score. What that means is what do we think of the movie like overall, like not taking our opinion out of it, just as a film, which obviously that logic doesn't make sense, but we still do it anyways.
But if you have
Um,
to, like if you got to give it like a score or
an
something.
objective score, like what would you give it? And then in a subjective score, like your opinion, what would you give it? The way we do this isn't just like numbers or letters. It's we give it a popcorn bucket size, so extra large, large, medium, small, and then how much butter is the subjective. So doused in butter, swimming in butter, a little bit of butter, medium amount of butter, that kind of thing is what we personally think of it. And the bucket is the objective. So bigger bucket, more butter means it was fantastic and we loved it. Small bucket, a lot of butter is really not that good of a movie, but I really love it. An example of this would be like a Transformers movie or one of the recent like American Godzilla movies of this movie ain't that good, but I still love watching it. So that's kind of the idea behind our rating system. But anyways, Natalie, how would you rate Michael?
I think I'm going to give it You might disagree with me, but I'm going to give it a
Mm-hmm.
large popcorn bucket, and I'm going to give it extra butter.
Mm-hmm.
Loved it. I think that in the world of biopics, it did what it needed to do.
Love
That's why it
it.
gets a large bucket.
I should probably think of it in the world of biopics, but as someone who doesn't like biopics, who hasn't seen a lot of biopics recently, I would give it a medium bucket and probably with butter. Not necessarily super or an extra amount of butter, but thought it was good, or thought it was like it was a fine movie, it was decent. And like I said before, while I would never necessarily choose or go out of my way to watch it, I wouldn't really say no if somebody wanted to watch it. So
And you know what?
yeah.
That's great. That is
Hmm.
something that
That's
listeners
why we made this
you will
podcast.
learn about is that I genuinely always am looking at it in a smaller picture, and Garrett is always looking at it in the bigger picture,
Hmm.
and that's okay. And that's why we chat about things.
And that's why we made this podcast to kind of show our different opinions and how it's okay to have both different opinions or
Yep,
to
correct.
disagree and to agree. And see, this is what Michael Jackson would be talking about today, that it's important that we can still disagree and get along. And isn't that what
And
he
you know
wanted?
what? You know what, Garrett? Amen.
Hmm.
Proud of us for still
Um,
being friends.
Proud of us, especially after just so many disagreements on this movie. Anyways, so next movie, there is a big movie coming out in 2 weeks from now. Well, in a week from now, and we will do our next episode on it. This could be talking about arguments and stuff, and talking about disagreeing. This could potentially be a movie we both agree on. This could be potentially a movie that is very contentious, depending on how it goes. I already know that I will have a lot of thoughts, even without having seen the movie. Hopefully positive, maybe negative. We'll see. But the next movie we will review in 2 weeks' time is Mandalorian and Grogu. Star Wars is
Ah,
back in theaters, baby, but let's see how it does.
we'll see. I honestly haven't really caught up with the Mandalorian show in general, so it'll be quite a ride for Natalie, but
Hmm. I
don't know
haven't
how much
either.
of it I need to know. Don't know how much of any Star Wars I need to know.
Hmm.
It's the problem with big franchises. Like, they pump them out too much, and then you're like, I'm lost.
So I'm happy to have a Star Wars movie back in theaters, but I don't know how this is going to go. And I will have a lot more thoughts on that in two
Think
weeks.
I think that Garrett doesn't think that this movie's gonna be good. He
No,
does
I
think
don't
that
think
this
it's.
movie's
I
gonna
don't
be
think it's going to
bad.
be good. I think this
Yeah,
movie's going to be bad.
yeah.
Um, and
And I don't know.
hopefully, I'm proven wrong. I really hope to be proven wrong. I'm not going into this movie wanting to hate it. I'm going
Are
into
you
this movie
sure?
really wanting to enjoy it. When I saw the trailer in IMAX a couple months ago, like the second trailer or whatever, I was like, "Wow!" Hearing the main theme, seeing Mando fly around, that made my heart feel something. So it's not that
Okay.
I want this movie to be bad. Like there are
He
some people
doesn't
who want
want it
this
to
movie to be
crash and
bad,
burn.
but I think it's probably going to be bad. And I genuinely, I would, there is nothing more that I would like than to be proven wrong. But I don't
Okay.
think I'm going to be proven wrong. But we'll see. We'll see what
We'll
happens.
see. Only time will tell.
Anyways, the
Thanks for
watchers,
listening.
listeners, thank you for tuning into this episode. We'll be going back to our regularly scheduled program, hopefully. Not hopefully. We'll try to get 2 episodes a month once again, try to nail down a specific day. We'll keep you updated
Figure it
as
out.
we iron out details and get back into the swing of things. But
Yes.
see you in the next one.
Woo!